I don't see it streaming. It says waiting. I'm sending a stream. Oh, hey, there it is. Oh, okay, now let me mute this so I don't hear any playback. And I wonder if I can get Steam chat going. Cool, cool, cool. I just want that muted too. All right. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the stream. Today we're gonna make some cutscenes. Yeah. All right, that's enough of the theatrics. I'm Drifty. How's it going, everybody? We'll turn this off for now. Yeah, thank you so much. Shout out to Dejica Games, Komodo, for having me on the stream here. I'm gonna play some RPG Maker MZ music, and you guys can let me know if this sounds right or wrong. And we're gonna be doing some eventing today. I'm gonna go over some basic like tutorial stuff, but then we're not gonna just talk about it. I'm gonna make a cutscene, and we're gonna just do stuff instead of me telling you how to do it. Yes? The music could go down. Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you, honey. All right. What's up, Sir Legna? Good to see you, Brant Rawson. Eleanor the Dark. Hello, hello. Can you keep an eye on Steam chat for me if you get a second? I mean, it looks like there's going to be nobody like tuning in to talk, but I'm sure a lot of people, like 90% of people, are just like on the page and stuff. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about events. Today we're going to be using RPG Maker MZ, and we're going to. I just created a brand new project. Everything is brand new. Custom cutscene is what I called it. And right off the bat, if you have no idea what an event is, it is just a thing that handles other things. It's like a container. It's a thing that runs stuff. So if you want to create an event, all you have to do is go over to this button right here. This is the event layer. And right click or double click. And then you've got a new event that pops up. This is an event right here. The name of the event, we'll call it Simple Cutscene Controller. And you have note tags that you can insert here. They're not just for your own notes like memo. Usually plugins will allow you to put in things like I don't know. We're not using any plugins, so I don't really want to give any. I don't really have anything to put in here. But if you wanted to put like an event tag, where you can see. I'm trying to think of the name of the plugin. Event map something, event something, whatever. You can put in note tags right there, and it will do different things depending on what the note tag. Like another one I like is community lighting, and you'd put in a note tag here to turn this event into a lighting event. What's up, Volson? But anyway, what are we looking at here? We've got new page, new event, copy page. These are just controlling things. So you can say new page, and it'll open up a second page right here. You can copy that and paste it. You can delete them. You can clear the contents of that, and so forth and so on. I'm going to jump through as fast as I can, and then we're going to go right into making a really cool cutscene. But I want to go over the basics because some people are just jumping into RPG Maker, and it would be very useful to know how to use this event. So an event will, by design, try to play the highest page that it has in all of its tabs, if it meets the conditions. So what does this mean? Let's make something in the contents. We're going to give it something. The most basic thing that you're going to see in RPG Maker games is probably show text. So double click inside this box here, or you can right click and select edit or new. And then you have 3 more tabs. These are all different things that you can put inside of events. It's really cool. They are basically just all bits of code, and these buttons are designed in a way that you don't need to know how to code to make things happen. So if you wanted to do a script call with code, you can still do a script call if you wanted to, and you can say this is a message, and it would still run that code as if it was a message. But you don't have to do any code. you can simply just go to the first tab and click on show text. And then you have these options here. And here is our first event. The show text has faces that you can add to it. So this will be read right here. And this is the name box, obviously. It's pretty simple. You put in the name and it will have a window pop up so that you can see who's talking. You can select a face and a name and what they say. You can use text codes. There's a bunch of text codes. If you just let your mouse idle over a spot, you'll see another box pop up. Then it says text to display. You've got control characters. You can display the value of variables. You can display the number of an actor, or the name of an actor, and whatever number actor you want. You can display the name of a party member, currency, all kinds of stuff. You can make the font bigger, smaller. You can wait for input. You can skip input. You have all these different / commands. I guess we can use one right now. Let's check the value of what's in variable 1 real quick. So here's our first event. On a new line, I'm going to do \v, and then I'm going to use brackets, and I'm going to put in 1. So this is going to tell this event to display the value that's inside of variable 1. It won't say variable 1 unless we tell it to. So say we can go, this is the value of variable 1. And then we do \v with that. Now our show text is also going to show what's inside variable 1. And by default, all variables will be set to 0, and all switches will be set to off. By as soon as you start a new game, that's how they're all going to be. So that's using the basic show text inside of an event. And we're going to be doing a lot of that, right? You're going to be telling your story through the show text and using different text commands to add color to things. And I like using /C for color as well. So let's do the color. So let's see, here's our first event, and we're going to put \C and events. And the colors are, you can see them in your system, and you can pick them from anywhere from 0 to like 32. 0 is the one that it will display by default. So I'll just put 1 here, and you can see that it changes the color. Now, how they work is once you put in the color, everything after that note tag will take that color. So if we want to just color event, we have to do another thing at the end of it. So we're saying everything after this note tag is going to be the color 1, which is blue in this case. If we want to just make event be blue, we need to do \C. Now this is the same thing as doing \C with 0 in it, because 0 is the default value for color, which is, if you haven't messed with your system PNGs, it will be a white color. So you can either do \C in brackets of 0, or you can just ignore the brackets because it will default to 0 if not given anything. So if we preview that, you can see, well, it's supposed to do 0. Is that changed? I guess that was changed. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to work. I'm curious now if the preview doesn't work like in game. Let's do \C without the brackets in game and take a look at that. All right, so what we're going to do is give this event an image, and we're going to test something to see if \C will work, or do we need to use 0? In MV, I don't think you need to use the 0. But anyway, in order to find this event, we're going to need to give it an image, otherwise we won't be able to see it unless we make it auto run and whatnot. But we're going to start simple. We're going to have read be right here, and he's the actor. Actually, let's not do that. Let's pick somebody who's not read, so we don't have it looking confused. A confusing looking thing going on. We have a pirate here, or some dude with a patch on, and we'll leave it like that. And we're gonna set our party starting position right here in front of him. We'll save the game and we're going to launch it. But before I launch it, I'm gonna do something to save everybody's ears. I'm gonna go to the cogwheel and go over to our system, and we're gonna make a few changes to this before we get started. I'm going to turn off the music for the title screen by selecting none. I'm going to go to battle and do the same thing for all of the music. That way we just hear the music that I selected with foobar instead of in-game music, which will be really kind of too loud and destroy our flow. So we're going to simply set this up. We're going to do some project setup. So many options, says Brent. 3 pages of options to make your dreams come true. They might be next to it. Read is out. Pirates are in. That's right. Thank you guys for tuning in. How are you guys feeling today? If you guys make suggestions for what to talk about, I will change the course, the flow of this, little hangout session tutorial thing. And you guys can dictate the storyline if you want to. I think that would be kind of cool to interact with you guys. There's no hard rules here. We can make whatever type of event we want, right? So that's cool. Dun, 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 dun. We can never say goodbye to Theme 6, Brent. Never say goodbye to it. Anyway, we've got that, so now we can test it without a bunch of music blowing our ears off. So let's just jump into a new game. This is a message. Here's our first event. Now you can see right here that event is blue and nothing after event is blue. So the \C works as intended. But if you do the preview here, it doesn't appear that it would work because it makes all of these blue. But little secret, it does. It will default to 0. So you don't need to do this. Unless you want the preview to also look that way. That's just a little tip for you. I don't really think it matters too much, but it's still, I mean, it's less typing in the end if you're changing colors constantly. Cool, Volson. Yeah, I mean, this is super fun for me. I love it when Dejica Games / Komodo, I love it when Komodo asks me to do these things. I'm super pumped to do them. I like going back to the basics. It's super easy. I think there's a lot of content out there. And some of it just goes right over new people's heads because they're just, I don't know what to do, how to do this. And it never hurts to go back to the basics and realize maybe there's more than one way to do the thing that I know how to do already. And so never be afraid to relearn something because you never know if somebody else has a better way to do it than you. Not saying I'm going to have a better way to do things than you. I'm sure there's a lot of really interesting things that each and every one of you have come up with. So all I'm saying is I have ways to do things, and these are the ways that I do these things, and you are free to copy the way that I do them for your own benefit. All right, so that little \C worked, and let's move on. We did show text. We did 2 texts, right? We did a script call to show that you can use code to do it, but you don't need to use code. We're not going to use code pretty much, very much. We might use a little bit here and there, but we want to kind of go over the event, right? All right, so there's a whole lot on this screen right here for this event. What does all of this mean? Okay, what if I were to add a new page? We have to pay attention to the conditions because, like I said earlier, the event will always run the highest page that it has as long as the conditions are met. So if we had something over here, like a page 2 with no conditions on it, then this stuff in here would never happen. Let's illustrate that. I'm going to go ahead and go here and press the F5 button to relaunch. Now you'll notice that the event, hold up, did I save it? Hold up. All right, play. You'll notice that the event is no longer there. I guess F5 is not good enough. I had to close it and reopen it. That's fine. You notice the event's not here. Now, why is there no event here? We made an event. We put a guy in there and we've made some text, but he's not there. Why not? Well, because page 2, all the conditions were met on page 2, which were none. We didn't put any conditions. So because all of the conditions were met on page 2, it will never display page 1. So how do we get to page 2? Well, let's delete this real quick, and I'm going to copy this and paste it so we have a duplicate. But on this page, all I'm going to say is, now we're on page 2. Cool. We're on page 2 now, and in order to get to page 2, we have to go through page 1. So this is how we're going to build our event. We're going to use self switches, and then we'll use switches and variables, and you can do it many different ways. Let's do it with a switch. If I turn on a switch here, page turner. It doesn't matter what you call these switches. It never really matters. This is simply to help you name your events properly, to help you remember what they're for. What's up, FunnyX? How you doing? How's it going? So we're going to call this page turner because we're going to use this as not our condition for page 1, but we're going to use it as our condition for page 2. So page 2 will only happen if page turner is on. So we'll, in order to make it so that we see page 1 and then we see page 2, we display page 2 with a condition. And then at the end of page 1, we're going to turn on and change the conditions of the game so that it meets those conditions. So let's go ahead and control that switch page turner. We're going to turn that switch on after we see this text. So we talk to him the first time. It's going to say, this is a message. Here's our first event. This is the value in variable 1. It's going to turn that thing on. And then the next page, it's going to just show this over and over and over. So let's illustrate that. This is a message. Here's our first event. This is the value of variable 1, 0. And now if we talk to him again, now we're on page 2, and it's going to repeat page 2 because that's the highest priority page that we have where the conditions are met. So that's cool. Now, we don't really need to use a switch for each page turn. We can use a variable to handle multiple pages. So let's look at how to use a variable to handle multiple pages. So let's turn off this switch condition, and we're going to delete this. Now let's instead use a variable. So what we're going to do is create a variable, and we'll call this text progress. Like I said, it doesn't matter. You can call it banana, but it'll help you stay organized. So we can set up the conditions for text progress for the second page. Well, it's arbitrary, but we'll just set it to 1. So if text progress is greater than or equal to 1, then it will display page 2. On this one, it doesn't need to be there. On shoot. On this one, it needs to be there, but on page 1, it doesn't. But in order to get to page 2, we have to somehow control this variable. So luckily, there's a command inside our event commands that lets us control a variable. So we're going to control a variable, and we can either set it to 1 or we can add 1 to it. So let's go ahead and illustrate both of them. What setting will do was no matter what the value of that variable is, it will set it to what you tell it to do in the operand. Adding will add to it, subtracting will subtract from it, so forth and so on. This is the modulus if you're not sure, and then that'll divide by a number and give you the remainder. It will set it to the remainder or pass that through. But what we're going to be doing is just simply setting and adding. So the first thing we're going to do is set it to 1. So we talk to him, we see this event, it changes the progress, the text progress equal to 1. And once that variable is 1, it will no longer show this page anymore because this is a higher page priority. It's page 2, and it meets the conditions, so it'll do that. And let's go ahead and illustrate that. Hey, Aaron, how you doing? If I only knew how to have the party members following the leader also be participating in the cutscene. Okay, I can help you with that, Aaron. Let me get through some of the basic stuff on how events work, and then I'll focus on that since you're being vocal and asking for help. How to make the followers participate in the cutscene. That's a really good one. I like that. And a lot of people know how to do that, but some people may still struggle with that. What's up, Drag? Hey, Sir Lugna. Again. You can have the followers gather and spawn events that match their... Yeah, we're going to be doing that. Hide the followers and make them events and control. Yeah, we're going to do that. I'm also going to create a new map to show how you can handle events that are walking around that may interrupt your movement routes. We're going to get to that, hopefully. We have enough time. So we've talked to him. We've changed the variable. Now it's gone to 1. It's set to 1. So we're on page 2. And like I said, the number's arbitrary. So let's go ahead and change this to say equal to 2. Now, what do you think is going to happen if we change this variable to 2? Is it still going to go to this page? It will, because this is saying greater than or equal to 1. So as long as this is not 0 or less, it's going to be stuck on page 2. So let's set this to go to 2, and we can change this to 2 so that it helps the numbers it helps my OCD here. But what if we have multiple things and we want our NPC to say all kinds of different things? Well, let's just copy this page 2 and paste it. Now what we're going to do is have this variable say greater than or equal to 3. Now, you don't have to have the variable match the page number. That is another completely arbitrary thing. It could be 5, but just for the sake of simplicity, we're going to make it look like this. Now we're on page 3. And how do we get to page 3? Well, we've used set. Now let's control a variable and use add. So we'll go and create a new control variable and we'll add 1 to it. So once we've set it to 2, and we talk to them on page 2, it will add 1 to it and it will be set to 3. And because page 3's conditions will be met at that point, it will only show page 3. I think you're seeing a pattern here. Hopefully you understand this very basic principle. And if you understand this basic principle, then you're going to have so much, you're going to get so much farther with your events once you understand how conditions work and the priority. So we're on page 2. If we talk to them again, because right now when we talk to them, it set the variable to 3. So if we talk to them again, now we're on page 3 and we're going to be stuck on page 3 because the variable is now 3. And like I said, it could have been 5, could be 10. As long as it's greater than or equal to 3, it's going to be right there. But another thing, we don't need to use a variable for one event as well. Just like using a switch would be kind of a waste of resources. Using a variable may be a waste of resources if there's only like 3 or 4 different things that can happen. So let's nix that variable and let's make this same event apply using the next thing. And this is called a self switch, and you can still control a self switch with a script call and change, like in another event, control any event's self switch. I'll show you how to do that if I can remember. In another event, you'll do a script call, and the script call will be game $game self switches dot set value, and you need to, inside of var x equals, we're going to make a new array, and there's 3 things that you pass in: the map ID, the event ID, and the letter that you want to toggle. So we'll say this is map 1. It would be event 1 that we want to toggle, and then we want to, inside of parentheses, say self switch A. And then what you would do is self switch A, you would say X, and then you're going to say, do you set that to true or false? We can say set it to true. And now we're controlling a self switch. I think that's right. We're controlling a self switch with another event. Now let's talk about, before we get into this thing, we're going to leave this one as action buttons and we'll make it a switch. I'm going to come right back to it and double check it. We can select what things look like, so it's pretty cool. I'll just make it this orb. We'll make it this little orb. I'm also going to select direction fix. And what direction fix is going to do is when you interact with an object from different angles, it doesn't change its image, because images will normally turn to face you depending on what angle you interact with them. But let's go ahead and have this self switch toggle just be out of the way for now, because I want to get through this basic little thing. Without using variables or anything, how do we make this thing cycle through 3 pages? Well, we're going to use self switches. So at the end of this page, we're going to turn on self switch A. And then once we talk to this event, it will toggle self switch A on. But in order to not just be stuck on page 3, we have to set our conditions. So we can work our way backwards if we want, sure. We'll say this one's required condition is that self switch B be on. In order to see this, we can make it so that this requirement condition for page 2 is that self switch A is on. And then at the end of talking with, and of course, page 1, no condition, so that it defaults to page 1. It runs this stuff at the end. We don't need that variable. After the text or whatever event you want, you control the self switch. And then when you talk to them again, it's on self switch A. It meets these conditions, but not these conditions. So it will display page 2. If you have it display page 2, you can turn on self switch B. And then once you've gone through that, it will continue to operate on page 3. Let's show how that operates. So we've used switches, we've used variables, and now we're using self switches to cycle through an event. And we've learned how to use an event, the page priority. We're on page 2, and now we'll forever be on page 3 until we find some other way to turn off some of those switches. So let's see if we can make this thing control a self switch. So this page 3 requirement is that B self switch be turned on. We can see in the top left corner here is the event ID, and we're going to look at this to control its self switch. So this is event ID 1. We don't need to type 001. We could just type 1. This is a bot, and then we'll just block that. Yep. Okay. I'm glad I'm a mod on this. I don't know if they made me mod, but I guess they did. Anyway, so what we're going to do is turn off self switch with another switch so that it will go back to page 2. So let's change this. We can see at the bottom right here that we're on map 1. So we're going to leave this on map 1. We're going to leave this to event 1, and we'll set this to B. And we're going to set this to say false. So when we access this event, it's going to run a little script call. It's going to create a temporary variable that's an array with 3 parameters, 0, 1, and 2. And it'll set this map, this event, self switch B, and we'll set that to false. So let's see. I think I did that right. If not, Sir Legna's here, and he's going to fix everything. That's another good thing about this community. It's full of helpful people. So this is a message. Here's our first event. We're on page 2. We're on page 3. If we access this, we're back on page 2. But of course, page 2 will turn page 3 back on. So we're on page 3. We access this. Now we go back to page 2, and that toggled it. So we'll be on page 3. And you can see how you can use an event to move around another event. And that's a pretty cool little trick. Yeah. All right, let's go back to our main event. And we've got self switches to control. And typically, this is how you're going to manipulate through a lot of your events. They're going to be using self switches because they're very easy to, on the resources, you don't have to like remember which one was what. You don't need to give them all specific names. So every event will have their own self switch A or B. Now let's see what happens if we use a switch instead of a self switch over here. So if we have page turner be on, and let's make this like page turner 2, right? We're going to use switches. Why would we use self switches when we can use regular switches? Well, let's take a look at this. At the end of this one, if we talk to the first one and we control switch 1 to be on, and then we control switch 2 to be on, page turner 2 turns on, and then it goes to 3. This still works fine, right? It does take more resources and it still works fine. But what you're going to have a problem with is if you make another event. So here's another cool trick. You can just select an event and press Control C and select a space and press Control V, or right click it, copy, and right click it, paste it. What's going to happen is they're going to switch from pages. Now, in order to just illustrate them switching, I'm going to change their icon. So this is going to be 1, this is going to be on page 2, and this is going to be on page 3. And that's going to help me distinguish when they switch. All right, and so we'll copy this one, and we'll paste it here, and we'll paste it here. And you'll be able to see these pages switch along with this one. So why you want to use self switches instead of just a regular switch, for the most part, is you want all of your events to be independent from one another. So if we talk to this one, this is a message, blah, blah, blah. It's turning the switch right there. And you can see all 3 of the other events have switched to the page 2, and we talk to them again, and now they've all 3 switched to page 3. So if we wanted these to be independent events, well, we would have a problem with that, and we would need like so many switches for each of these. It just becomes really messy. So I highly recommend you don't use switches for your conditions for the most part when you're just turning a page. Let's delete all of these guys, and let me show you how it would work if we go back to the self switches. So this is self switch B, self switch A, yada, yada. And then we can copy him here, paste him there, and we'll have, I'll do the same thing. This will be 2. So you can see when they've switched pages. And now what I can do is just use the middle guy. Copy, paste, 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 paste. And they'll all be independent from one another. And you can have them all in different cycles. And self switches are the way to go for that. So blah, blah, blah. He's on page. This is a message. Oh, we didn't do a thing. Dang it. At the end of this, we need to control our self switch A, turn that on. At the end of this, we need to do our control self switch B and turn that on as well. and then we can propagate this one. We'll just select these and press delete, remove them. On the left-hand side, you can see where all of your events are, and that's pretty cool. That's an MZ addition. We didn't have that in MV. I don't think so. But anyway, now if we talk to this guy, he goes to page 2, but none of these switch to page 2 because they're all on their own independent switches now. And that's typically how you're going to do most of your events with self switches. Even your like treasure chests and stuff, they're going to be self switches. Now let's talk about a couple of other conditions before we move on real quick. I'm reading some comments real quick. Yeah, see, that's really, you guys are helping each other. That's very nice. Thank you, Sir Legna. What's up, MLG LelZXD? Thank you for coming to the live stream. We are going through some basic stuff real quick. Let's talk about the final two ones, the item and the actor conditions in here. So if we want to go to page 2 and we don't want to use self switches, we'll get rid of all the self switches here. We'll get rid of all this. We'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of this. And we'll get rid of that. So we can have conditions of a certain actor be in the party. Let's say if Albert is in the party, we're going to turn this to page 3. And if the party is using a specific, if they have an item, then we'll turn this to page 2. So let's talk about a couple of built-in functions that you have with your events. You can right click and go to quick event creation. This is even people who have been using RPG Maker for a long time still go to these real quickly to start them and then, to save time. So you just scroll down to quick event creation, and we're going to select, let's do a treasure. And you can select the box that the treasure looks like, and you can select what you get. Inside this box, we're going to set a potion, and it's set up. It does a sound effect, a movement route. It controls self switch A, so we're using self switch here. And on page 2 of the open chest, you can see the thing we just learned how to do, self switch A be turned on. Now this page will be blank. So otherwise, if this didn't exist, then you'd be able to open the chest over and over and over, and you would get infinite items, and that's not really what we want to do. All right. So that's going to, if we open that, that will put us on the second page, unless Albert is in the party. So what we can do is have Albert over here. I forgot which one is Albert. Let's just say it's this guy. And we'll have him only be here to join the party if you have a potion. Albert wants a potion. All right, so Albert's going to be over here. We're going to show some text. We're going to put Albert's face. I don't even remember which one's Albert. Is that Albert? That's Albert, right? And he's going to say, hey, I'll join you. But only if you give me a potion. So how would we check to see if we have a potion, and how do we handle removing it? All right. So he's going to have a condition of being here. He will only be here if you have a potion. And then what we're going to do is called a conditional branch. This is a very, very important step to learning how to use events. It's in the flow control section. And it's monumental. You really need to know conditional branches. So let's take a look at it. Inside the event commands of the contents, you see under flow control conditional branch. We're going to left click it. We've got a bunch of tabs. Don't worry about all of it. Right now, all we're going to do is find where it checks for item. So on tab 4, we can see item, and we can select that little spot and select the item that we're checking for. We'll also click on this little box at the end, which will create an else branch. And this is what's going to happen if they don't have a potion. You can make it so that it will do nothing if you don't have a potion, or you can make it do something special if the player doesn't meet the condition, in this case having a potion. So we're going to make a condition. So he's going to tell you, hey, I'll join you, but only if you give me a potion. So what we're going to do is run a conditional and say, if the party has a potion, then he'll be like, cool, can I have it? We'll put Albert's face right here. I see you have a potion. May I have it? Now what we're going to do is prompt the player with a choice. This is another cool thing is you can let the player give feedback and add your own choices to it. So it's a very common one. It's right under show text, show choices. The window it depends on what you want, right? It's all arbitrary here. Do you want it to be the window? Do you want it to be just a dim background, or do you want it to be completely transparent? It doesn't really matter. It's up to you. What side of the screen do you want it to be on? Left, middle, right? We'll put it right in the middle. Default choice is where the cursor starts when they are prompted with this show choice, and the cancel is what option will play if the player were to press escape or press the back button. So we'll say, yes, you can have it. No, you can't. We'll say default choice will be on yes, and the cancel choice will be on 2. You don't really have to change too much. So if they say yes, we already know the player has a potion because we've already checked for it. So what we're going to do is control items. In this case, it's under party. It's called change items. So we're going to click on change items, and we're going to select the potion, and we're going to click on decrease by 1. And so we know that the player has a potion. And if they do, we're going to have Albert say, can I have it? And prompt the player with a choice. If they say yes, then they lose the potion, but they're going to gain the actor. So you can add actors to your party. So let's find that one. I believe it is somewhere in here. Maybe it's page 2. Change party. Oh no, it's going to be on page 1. Change party member. Okay, it's right there. All right, so what we're going to do is click on Albert and click add. Initialize will start them with what their stats are in the database. You can have party members leave the party and come back, like Shadow in Final Fantasy VI. If you check the initialize button on a person, on a change party member, you really only want to do that when they join the party the first time. And there's exceptions, of course. But if say Shadow was initialized every time you got him, he wouldn't remember all of the experience that you gave him. He wouldn't have the gear that you put on him. So like say when Shadow joins you the first time, you can initialize him. But every time after that, you want to have him join without initializing, because then he will remember what weapons you put on him, what skills he knows, and et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to add Albert right there. So we changed the potion, we got rid of it, we added Albert. When you say no, he can simply say, let's just copy paste right here. He can be like, stingy, eh? Okay, and that's all he says. But on the other hand, if you don't have a potion, he'll just straight up say, come back to me when you have a potion. Now here's another thing that we can do. We can uncheck this condition now, because Albert can still be standing there when we don't have a potion. That way we can see this else handler. If we do this, he won't appear there until you have a potion, and it's up to you to decide what works for your scenario. So we're going to turn that off so Albert's there. So if Albert, anyway, he's the event. Here's the one for the potion, and this event will change also based on if you have the potion or if you have Albert. So let's just look at these events and see what happens if we go through them. All right. This guy will cycle through, but he will be stuck on this page because we don't have a potion, so he won't go to the next page. I'm going to turn the sound down on that real quick. Let's go to the volume mixer and bring this down just a little bit. That way it doesn't blow our dang heads off. All right. We got a potion, and now you can see that this event right here changed. It's going to be on page 2 now because we have the potion. And Albert will be here. And he'll tell us, hey, I'll join you, but only if you give me a potion. I see you have a potion. May I have it? If you say no, he'll tell you that you're stingy. Now keep an eye on this switch. It's going to switch to page 3 if Albert joins. So if we tell him yes, you can see that this event switched because it met the page conditions. And Albert should have joined us. Formation. Yeah, Albert did join us. Now you can see it's kind of funny because he joined us, but he's still there, right? If he's still there, we need to remove him. So there's a couple ways that you can remove events. You can erase an event, or you can use a switch variable, item, actor, same thing, right? So in this case, we're going to use a switch. We're going to say Albert has joined, or actually, let's let's use actor has joined. That makes the most sense, right? So let's go ahead and create a new page and set this to if Albert has joined. So if Albert's in the party, page 2 will run and it'll be blank because it meets the conditions. So if Albert's in the party, it meets the condition of page 2 and it'll be blank, and he will disappear as he joins us. That's the probably the best way that I can think of to do that one. And if he's not in the party, he'll appear there again. So we can also have him come back to the spot if we somehow make him leave the party. What's up, C Gentle? How are you doing? Thank you for coming to the live stream. It's all good. All right, so I'm going over a bunch of basics. I think I've covered the basics. Let's get into making a cutscene now. Let's make like a really cool little cutscene. All right, so I'm going to right click here and I'm going to create a sample map. I don't have time to make an entire map. We're going to make a sample map somewhere. Let's see, what would be a good one? Let's make I got to think of a scenario. Anybody have a good scenario? I think what we'll do is like, we'll have a ball. And here's a temple. And it's going to be like a dance or something. Or my practice partner. Yeah. We'll make like practice partner. All right, so let's make a transfer event. I'll do an event that will show you how to transfer event anywhere from a side. So let's talk about another type of event. We've done a bunch of events. Let's talk about another type of event. This is a parallel process event and auto run events. So priority just means where it's at. If it's below a character, on the same level as a character, or above a character. So if it's below a character, then the character will walk on top of it. So that would be something that the player could walk on top of. Let's find an example of that priority. There's a whole lot to go over with events. I mean, it's hard to cram a bunch of this in 1 hour. So I'm gonna just try to go as much as I can here. So let's just let's walk on this event right here. This is going to be set to below characters. And I'll put this right here and the player right here. Save this, go like this. And you walk on top of it, you can see, boom, it's right there, it's on top. And that's what the priority will show. If you set it to same as characters, you will be unable to walk on it. It will be like basically block the way. So this is really good for making things that you don't want the player to walk on. You want it to kind of obstruct the view. If you want the player to be under it, then you would set it to above characters, and the player can walk there, but the event will still be on top. So you'll walk underneath it, and you can see now it's above. It's above the player, and that's what the priority does. The next thing to look at are triggers, and that's what I wanted to get to. So far we've been using action button trigger, which means when you go up to a thing and you press the button, it runs the contents of the event. But some other things can happen too. Let's do a player touch. I'm going to go through all of them really quickly. Player touch is going to basically just when a thing touches the player, it's going to run the contents. It's pretty simple. The autonomous movement is going to let the player, you can design a custom move route that's all built in right here. It also has a few like predefined ones. Fixed means it's going to do no movement. It's just going to stand there and do nothing. I mean, it will run the contents if you meet the condition. So let's say it's fixed and the player touch, it's going to run this and it's going to say, hey, why you touching me? Like that. If the player touches it, it's going to run the contents of that event without having to press action button, just if you run into them. And you see he's still on top of us because we didn't change the priority. So let's set this back to same as character. And let's change his movement. Let's make him walk around randomly. And we'll start the player like a little bit farther away. This is going to let your NPCs walk around town. So you're going to kind of give them this And by default, they have like kind of a slow speed. But if you run into them, boom, he's gonna be like, hey, why you touching me? I didn't press any buttons. I just ran into him. And there's another one. So the next one will be approach. This one will have them walk to the player. I don't really need to illustrate it, right? You can imagine it's just slowly walks towards the player. And this one is, you can specifically design a custom route. We can say he's going to move right, 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 move up, 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 left, 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 down, 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 down. And what we need to do when we design a custom move route is to click the skip if cannot move. Most of the time you want to do this because it will lock up the game. It acts as if it's an auto run that's not being able to be completed. And repeating movements means he's going to basically run that circle and he'll just keep going. But if he can't go, then you can, he'll still try to run through that movement route, but it won't lock the game up. And eventually you can kind of get him into a corner or move him wherever you want when they have a custom move route that doesn't, it doesn't, what is it called? It has skip if cannot move on. And so you can like block them and they kind of go halfway through and you can mess around with that. So it's typically, I don't know many people who really actually use this too much. Usually people will just put it on random and let them walk around randomly. And if you want them to move faster, you can change the speed and the frequency. The speed is going to be how fast their animation goes, and the frequency is how often their animation will be playing. So you can see he's moving around a little bit faster now. And if we run into him, hey, why you touching me? The event touch is usually paired. That's the next trigger. It's usually paired with approach, which is going to have them chase after the player. So let's have him move even faster with the highest frequency. He's going to chase after me. And when he finds me, he's going to be like, why you touching me? Why you touching me? It's kind of be a troll move. You don't really want to do it exactly like this because he's going to get to me faster. Hey, why you touching me? Why you touching me? Why you touching me? He's faster than us. So he's going to just like, he's going to basically be all over us. All right. So that's that one. All right. So let's do another thing. We have auto run and parallel events. When will you use these? How would you use these? Let's talk about auto run first. So I'm going to have this guy go to the slowest and the lowest, and I'm going to keep him on. So he's going to be chasing us, but we can easily avoid him now because he's like molasses. But in the meantime, what I'm going to do is have a new event, and this is going to be like a controller event. So this will actually, before the controller, we'll do an initialization event. Initialize. And an initialization event is basically going to set the scene, control some variables, control some things so that everything works the way we want it to work. So let's say, for example, we don't want to have this chest there, but we need to give the player a potion at the beginning. For some reason, they need to have a potion. We can set that up with an auto run event that will run a single time only. So this is going to be set to trigger auto run. We're going to set it to above characters, out of the way, somewhere where the character is not going to walk. We're not going to give it an image or anything, but it's just going to run in the background one time at the beginning. And this one will change items and give the player a potion. So now right off the bat, it's going to give the player a potion, and then we're going to do a control self switch A on, new page. This will be action button. You have to make sure that the second page is action button so that it terminates with nothing. Because if you set this to auto run with no contents, it will just freeze up the game. It'll just do nothing, and you won't be able to move at all. If you ever get into a situation where you can't move around at all, it's probably because you have an auto run on that's not terminating it properly. So what we're going to do is set the page conditions so that self switch A needs to be on for this page to play. And if you remember the priority of events, it will always try to play page 2 if there's 2 pages. So because it can't at the beginning, it'll check page 1 and there's no conditions. So it's going to play page 1 automatically, and we'll be able to look inside our bag right at the beginning of the game and notice that we have a potion, but then it'll only do that once. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So if we press escape, you can see that we have the potion automatically. So that's our initialization event, and that's how you do things with auto runs. Another way you might want to do an auto run, let's move over to this area now. We'll make a new event, and this will be an auto run event, and this will be an event that happens every time you enter the map. What if you want to, maybe you want to do a screen tint every time you enter the map. And so we can do that. Let's do an erase event with this one. So we'll call this one screen tint. And this one will tint the screen. You can do lots of things with these events. We do not have time to go over all of them, but we'll go ahead and tint the screen. It's in here somewhere. Trust me. Aaron says, so this event touch lets me have the monsters trigger combat encounters without the need for random encounters. Yeah, you can totally do that, Aaron. Here it is, tint screen. So we're going to tint the screen kind of grayscale with some blue. And in this tint screen, since we're here, I'll go over it real quick anyway. If you want it to take a certain amount of time and you want the player to notice a change in the scenery, then you leave wait for completion and you give a duration. It will be 60 by default, and that means 1 second. So there's 60 frames in a second for the way that the game operates. Even if you go past 60 frames per second, it's designed in a way to be 1 second for 60 frames, because I run at 75 frames, but it's fixed in MZ. MV, you had some problems and you had to do some plugins for that. Gosh, these buttons. Okay, cool. Anyway, we don't want it to take time, so we're going to uncheck it. And I'm going to make this happen instantly. So if we want the screen to just, boom, be tinted immediately on the first frame, we set the duration to 1 and we uncheck wait for complete. And so as soon as we enter, it's going to tint the screen. And what we want to do, it will lock up the game if we leave it like this. We don't want to leave it like that, but we don't want to do a self switch because we don't want it to happen just once. So the trick to do this is called an erase event. So it doesn't literally erase the event and it's gone forever. It only removes it until you leave the map and come back. It's a really cool little trick so that you can have the tint screen happen every time that you enter, every time that you enter the map. So what I'll do is let this auto run happen. And I'm going to change where we start. So I can right click anywhere on any map and click set starting position and select the player. And the player will start there. So now we won't be on that other map. We'll be on this map. And you can see that the screen is tinted blue because that just happened to be the one that I picked. And that happened. So if we were to walk away, the screen would still be tinted. So if you're going to tint the screen, you also have to do an event that untints it. So we can do that over here. On the auto run event that happens with this one, if we untinted it, it would only do it once. So let's talk about another thing. Let's make a parallel process. Now, a parallel process event is really cool. You're going to use them a lot. In older versions of RPG Maker, it used to bog down the engine a lot. But anymore, you can have a crap load of parallel processes going on without really having any problem as long as you do them properly. So how do you do a parallel process? Well, you select an event and you set the trigger to parallel process and you have it do something. What do we want to have it do? Well, you can have it do a number of different things. Let's do a simple one. Let's have it check to see if you're on the edge of a map. And if you're on the edge of a map, then it's going to transfer event you. So let's have it check to see if you are on the top row of the map. So we're going to do a conditional branch. Actually, let's do a cool event. Talking about events, quite often you don't need to make an event on each map. Like say you want to have something happen on all maps. You can make something called a common event. And these are super useful, and it would be a shame if I didn't talk about these. So common events are events that are going to happen on any map that you call them or whenever the trigger is happening. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a player tracker event. It's a super useful tool. We're going to call this the player tracker. And we're going to set this to a parallel process. This will be a parallel process. And when will this happen? We're going to use a switch. We'll use switch 3 and we'll call this player tracker. It doesn't matter what it's called, but we're going to keep ourselves organized with a good convention and call our switches appropriate names. So whenever player tracker is on, it's going to run the contents of this. And right now it's not doing anything, but it won't lock up the game. It just won't do anything. If you'd set this to auto run, it will lock up, but parallel it won't. So that's a good little thing to know about. What we want to do is control some variables. So we're going to click new, control variable, and we're going to set variable 2 to the player's X location. You don't have to type it out. You can just say player X or whatever. And then we'll use variable 3 for player Y location. You can map other things as well, like what map you're on. We'll just do that, player map. All right, so we've got 3 variables. We're going to select this second one, and we're going to set it to the game data. And what we're going to do is select on character, player, map X. And then what we're going to do is just select that. So whenever this switch is on, every frame of the game, it's going to make sure that that variable is equal to the X value of where the player is on the map. I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to set the next variable, which will be 3, to the game data of map Y. And one more, of course, I'm going to copy paste this, and I'm going to set the next variable, player map, to game data of other map ID. Now what this is going to do is at any point in the game, I have the ability to check where the player is standing and what map they're on. So this lets me do a lot of cool things. So I'm going to use another parallel event to transfer the player if they walk up. So what we're going to do is look at this bottom section right here, and you can see the location of where I'm highlighted. So in this top left, we are on map 1. It's this one right here, 001. And then this is the X location of that box highlighting location. And then this is the Y location. So if the player was standing here, he would be map X0, map Y0. And of course, if the player was over here, they'd be on X13, Y7. And so all we have to do is check to see if the player's X value is, or if the player's Y value is 0. And if the player's Y value is ever 0, we can just transfer event. So let's make a parallel process, and we don't need any conditions for this. What we're going to do is make a conditional branch inside the contents. So we'll say new conditional branch, and whenever, we're going to check a variable. Whenever the player's Y location is equal to 0, we don't need an else handler because we don't really want it to do anything if the player is not standing there. So it's a very simple parallel, and all it's going to do is see if the player is standing on this top row. And if they are, well, then we're going to do whatever we want. In this case, we want to transfer them off of the map. So let's go ahead and transfer the player. We're going to select the map we just made, this interior. Boom. And we'll have them face up. And we'll make the fade out. It doesn't matter. We'll make it fade out to black. And that's basically it for that parallel process. And that parallel process will stay there. And if the player ever walks up here, they'll transfer here. Now let's make a transfer here, a quick one to make them back. There's also a quick event creation. So we can do a transfer event here by going there, selecting where we want them to go. We'll put them back down here and make them face down. We have to make sure that it's on player touch. Otherwise, the player would have to stand on it and press the action button if you set it to action button. But by default, it goes to player touch. On this parallel, we don't need to do anything because the parallel is always checking to see whenever the player is at that location. All right, so that should let us transfer back and forth. But before I come here, I want to change one more thing. This tint is pretty crazy. So I'm going to take the blue out of it and have it just be like a little darker or something instead of so blue. It looks like we were underwater. Anyway, so now we'll test that parallel process event. And we're going to do, so it looks like it's nighttime, right? It's nighttime here, and we can walk out. Our transfer event works. Did I set to greater than equal to? If player Y location equals 0. Oh, another thing. So what I have to do is turn on the switch player tracker in order for this to work. So switch 3 is not on, which means all variables are going to be set to 0. I mean, all variables are 0 and all switches are off by default. So it met the conditions to transport me up immediately without any change. So what we have to do is with our auto run event, we want to turn on this switch 3. So we'll make an initialization event over here, which we've already learned how to do. and it will be an auto run that will turn on switch 3. So variable or switch 3, boom. If player tracker is now on, and we'll do a self switch, new page, self switch A. So this is going to be an auto run, but this page is an action button. So right off the bat, it will turn on our tracker, and then it will never have to do anything again because the tracker will just stay on, and then it shouldn't transfer us back immediately. All right. Oop. All right. So it did the screen tint. It turned on our switch 3, hopefully. And now we're walking around. And if we ever walk all the way up, it should transfer us. Boom. It transferred us. So we can walk on any tile, and we don't even need to put an event on any tile, because as soon as our Y value is equal to 0, it will transfer us up. Bada boom. So now what I want to do is, I guess what we can do is have another map, and if we walk down, we'll repeat this process. You can have it do multiple things on one event. So let's go ahead and select an else branch. So if the player's Y is not 0, let's see if they're at the bottom of the map. Let's first of all look at the location. That would be number 12. So if Y is equal to 12, we know they're standing on the bottom. So let's see, if Y, if not Y else, and you can copy paste this inside if you want to check the other sides, or you can just do them without else handlers. I like to do them with else handlers. That way you don't have two ever firing at once, which you shouldn't, but it's whatever. So I'm going to copy this thing right here, paste it in here. And on this one, I'm going to get rid of the else branch. And I'm going to say if it's, what was it, 12? I think it was 12. It was 12. Y is 12. So if if Y is ever 12, then it will transfer the player. Of course, we don't have a map to transfer them to, so let's make a new map. Load a sample map. This is where we're going to make our cutscene. We're running low on time. I got to make a cutscene. Let's make a stage right here. Beautiful, lovely, wonderful stage. And now we can select to transfer them to that stage. I know it doesn't make sense coming from, well, you know, we'll come from the top. Come from the top. So here's where we're going to make our event happen. All right. So we're going to transfer them here, but I want to do a little magic. I want to make a little magic happen. They're going to be facing down, fade to black. And what we're going to do inside the stage is have some auto run stuff happen. What you can do is have it right here. I should do both to show you why you want to do it on the transfer event. But what we're going to do is take what we learned and make some stuff happen, like fade out the screen. So we're going to make an auto run event happen. This is where we're going to make our cutscene. Trying to read here as well. Oh, that's you, honey. I was like, what is people talking about? We're going to make an auto run event, and we're going to do some fade out. So we're going to fade out the screen. That's going to make it go black. We're going to set some transparency on. This is a little trick that I've learned. So we're going to change our transparency on, which will make the player invisible. And then what we're going to do is place an event. So what we're going to do is make a switch. We're going to place a few events. This is going to be called Friends Events. It doesn't matter what we call it, but we're going to turn a switch on. That's the important thing. And if those are on, we can do all kinds of stuff. Let's make those events now. So in here, let's make actor, let's put Priscilla here. But her condition is Friends Events has to be on. And we need to call her actor 2. We're going to copy this event and paste 1 here. And then we're going to make this actor 1. We're going to set this one to read facing up. We're going to copy this event, put it here, and make this actor 3. Facing up. And we'll copy this event, paste it here. And make this actor 4, facing left. 1, 2, 3. Wait, this one. All right, so we've got this happening. And when we walk down into this map, it should fade out the screen and make the player and all of the followers go invisible, and then turn on a switch. And then we can do a little wait, just a few frames to give some time for that to happen. And then what we're going to do is we can play music, we can do all kinds of different stuff, but basically we're just going to fade in and start a movement route. So we'll do the fade in then, fade in screen. What we're going to do is eventually take this and put these on the transfer event, but I want to show what they look like both ways. And then now we have this auto run happening where we can do a movement route. So we're going to start a movement route with we're not going to move the player around anymore because at this point we want to move the actors around. So we're going to have skip if cannot move, wait for completion. Actor 1 is going to move up a couple times, and then he's going to say something like, Reed. It's going to be like, Priscilla, will you be my dance partner? And then Priscilla can walk forward. So a series of show text and movement routes and stuff like that. Now that we've separated all of the party members into their own events, we can kind of like do whatever we want, right? So actor 2, did I copy paste? Yeah. So actor 2 is going to move right a couple times, and then it's going to face down. Let's see, turn down for what? See if cannot move, wait for completion. And she's going to be like, wait, I need to know their names. I always forget. All right, is it Priscilla, and then who's Gail? Gail. Yeah, it's going to be Gail. She's going to be like, I was going to dance with Gail. So it'll be Priscilla's face, and she goes, "Oh, Reed, that's sweet of you to ask, but I've already told Gail that I would dance with them." Gail goes by them, by the way, in case you didn't know. It's canon now. It's canon. And then we're going to move actor 3. Actor 3 is going to do a move left, move left, move left, and then turn actress 2. And then we're going to have them turn down for what? And then we'll do some more text. This is basically a cutscene. Movements in text. Of course, you can do lots of different sound effects and animations and all kinds of stuff. You can get as fancy as you want, but we're going to make this rudimentary real quick. And now we have Gail. Be like, yeah, Reed, step off. She's my dance partner. And then we can do another one. Make sure. Up, up. Right, right. Actually, let's have him move up 1. And then... Is this 3? This is 3. This is 4. So we're going to have him go like this. Actor 3. 2, 3. This is 3. We need to get these straight here. Actor 3. Why are they both actor 3? Okay, anyway, I want actor 3 to be here. Actor 4 can be here. That was weird. And, yeah, it's because the hair. They have the same hair. kind of. I mean, it's slightly different, but whatever. We need this one to move or look like this instead. All right, cool. And then, wait, who's actor for again? Michelle. And then this will be one move up. We're using skip if cannot move so it doesn't lock anything up. But later on, if you want, you can uncheck that if you nail it. And then Michelle will be like, "I'll be your dance partner, Reed." So we'll do that. So she'll step up and she'll be like, "Wink, wink." Move up and turn left. Actor 4. We cannot move. And this will be Michelle. Mitchell. I'll be your dance partner, Reed. And then Reed could just turn right and be like, "I guess that'll be fine. I guess for my second choice," Reed stuck up. We could really make Reed do and say whatever we want. That's the power we have. All right, so we'll do a movement route. We don't actually have to make him like step anywhere. We can just have him turn right. So he's gonna turn right and be like, "Yeah, all right, fine." I guess that will work. And then what we can do is like add some flair, some flavor, and we'll do like a, I don't know, like a bubble. We'll do a show balloon icon on, not this event. We want Michelle to do it, so actor 4. It will be a little heart. She's like, "Oh." And then we can do a sound effect. That's the sound it makes. Shut up. Oh. New sound effect. Tab 2, play SE. And then it's like something good. Where's that like goom? We could make our own sound effects if we want. I in my head I was like, I'm gonna make my own little song, and then I'm gonna add some sound effects, and then I'm like, there's just not much you can do in an hour if you actually want to teach new people how to do stuff. Let's not do that one. Definitely the sheep. No, it's what kind of sound would happen when you heart somebody? Oh, yeah, definitely not that one. I guess it really doesn't matter. Let's just do. That'll work. It's like maybe you got points with her. There's some system you got points. Anyway, I'm curious to see how this is gonna. This is called event. This is our controller, and it's an auto run, so we need to terminate it at the end. We're doing auto run, not parallel. That way the player can't walk around and mess stuff up. We actually need to move the player somewhere else out of the way of movement. But if they're stuck on an auto run, they can't move. So as long as they're in that one tile and we were not going to walk on that tile, it'll be perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and make sure that the player is going to be standing where they can't be getting in the way. She's going to move right. He's going to move left. She's going to move up and face left. She's going to move up, and then he's in something else, and then he's going to face right. The player's going to be here. It should be perfectly fine, but shouldn't matter. What we're going to have to do is take the fade out and transparency and put that on the transfer event, which I hope we did right because we didn't test it, in order to make it look just right. But let's just see what happens. Let's play the game now. We made a huge event. I'm sure there's some things we did wrong. We got to fine tune some stuff. So we're going to walk down through here. We go through our transfer event, and then we're going to walk down here, and hopefully it transfers us. Okay. Okay, did you see what happened right there? Did you see how it showed the whole scene, and then it faded out? Now, if that's the desired effect you want, that's perfectly fine. You can totally do that. But I want to show you what you can do to make it so that it never shows the player standing there, and it doesn't flash the screen and then go black. Like, I can show you that. So we'll do that next. But let's watch this out and see if we made more mistakes here. Priscilla, will you be my dance partner? Aw, Reed, that's sweet of you to ask, but I've already told Gail that I would dance with them. And then Gail's like, yeah, Reed, step off. She's my dance partner. And then Michelle's like, I'll be your dance partner, Reed. I guess that will work. And then the hearts happen. And it'll just keep repeating this over and over because we never terminated the auto run event. So at this point, we're going to do a self switch. We'll do a control self switch. And we'll turn that on. New page. Self switch A is on. Boom. That whole event is done. But we need to do our fade out event for that to happen. So before it switches to that page, we need to have some kind of resolve. So he's like, okay, that'll work. And then she hearts. And then what happens? She's going to walk up to Reed because Reed's like not that into it. So she's going to move closer to Reed. So copy this one again. He turns right. She goes up, takes left. He turns right. Then she's like, yeah, okay, cool. She hearts him, balloon icon. And then she moves to the left again. She's going to move left. See if we cannot move, yada, yada. And then, so she'll be here and then left. And so he'll be standing here facing right. She'll be standing here facing left. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to illustrate how you can have multiple things. So these were all one in order, like them, then you go, then you go, then you go. But you can have them all move at the same time if you don't wait for the event to complete. So at this point, what I'm going to do is have events happen without waiting for it to complete. And we'll do that as the heart is happening. We're not going to wait for the heart to happen. Actually, yeah, let's wait for the heart to happen. But while the heart is going, we're going to start 2 new move routes where, what's her name? Priscilla and Gail walk up to each other. So they're both going to be standing here, and then they're both going to take a step forward. I guess we can have Priscilla move 1 more step forward, and Gail move 2 more steps forward, or to the left, right, and then left, respectively. So let's do a couple more movement routes. Copy here. Before the sound effect heart, but we're not going to wait for these. So like the heart stuff should happen. Sound effects should happen in the same amount of time. So let's see how it plays out. You're going to have multiple things happening. So this is actor 2 that's going to move to the right. And we're going to say, don't wait for completion. So I'm unchecking wait for completion here. And then I'll copy this and I'll paste this. And then I'm going to have actor 3 move left, move left. Boom, boom, not wait for completion. So they're going to start moving. And then while they're moving, a sound effect's going to happen. The heart balloon's going to play. And then she's going to move as well. Actually, let's not put a weight on the heart. Let's just have her go straight for Reed. She's like, oh, I'll be your partner. Hearts. And then so you'll have 4 things happening at once, you know, relatively. So you've got Priscilla moving right. You've got Gail moving left. You've got a sound effect happening. You've got a balloon happening. And you have Michelle moving left. All of this should happen around the same time while it's only waiting for the last one, which is Michelle moving left up to Reed. And then what we need to do is fade out the scene again. So what we're going to do is do a fade out scene. We can do a wait if we want to. We'll just say wait half a second, and then we're going to fade out the scene. We fade out the scene, and then what we can do is transfer them and have other things happen. It could go on to be a whole movement sequence scene where they start dancing and whatnot. But let's do something simple. They fade out the screen right here, and well, we can actually do something cool before the fade out. Let's tint the screen and be like, end scene, right? Because it's been long enough. So let's make it go dark, and we'll do this. We'll wait for it to complete over the course of 1 second before the fade out. So tint the screen, and then we're gonna wait. I guess we don't need to do the manual wait because we're gonna wait 1 second after that happens. Then we fade out the screen and we transfer the player to wherever we want. And so we can transfer the player off the stage down here, facing, it doesn't matter. Fade out white, doesn't really matter. And then we need to turn the transparency back on at some point. So we're going to fade out, transfer the player, and then we'll turn the transparency back on so that you can see the player again. But we also, when we turn the transparency on, we have to turn those switches off so that those events disappear. So let's find transparency real quick. Change transparency off. I said on, but I meant off. Turn the transparency off. And then control a switch as well. Control a switch. We're going to say that the friends events are now, switch is now going to turn off, which will make all of those other events just disappear, right? And that should do it. After that, and we'll watch this event play out, and then I'll show you how to do it on the transfer event so that you don't get the, you don't transfer, see the scene, then it fades out and whatnot. But I want to test it if we have any other issues coming up. So you saw them, they were there for a second. The player was standing right there for a second, right? And then it faded out and did the whole event, which is fine if you want that. Priscilla, you be my dance partner. She walks up. Oh, Reed, that's sweet of you to ask, but I've already told Gail that I would dance with them. Gail walks up. Yes, Reed, step off. She's my dance partner. Michelle's like, I'll be your dance partner, Reed. And then watch, all this stuff should happen at the same time. I guess that'll work. And you see how they got together and they were dance partners, and then they faded out. The screen did that. Did we do a fade in? We didn't do a fade in. So that's the problem here. We have to do a fade in. Just like transparency, when you turn transparency on, you have to turn it off. And when you fade out the screen, you also need to fade it back in. But let's do another thing while we're here. So we fade in the screen. Let's take the beginning where we're going to fade out the screen and turn the transparency on and turn a switch on. And wait 15 frames. Let's go ahead and cut these. Like what? Why would we cut these? Well, what we're going to do on this case, since I know we're only going to do this once, I'm going to put it on this transfer event. So when we transfer event here, it's going to do all of these things right there. Oh my goodness. I just copied and I was going to paste. I cut, then I was going to paste, and then I copied on accident and lost those damn things. Yeah, that's a good idea. But no, I lost the clipboard. Yeah, I lost the clipboard. So, I mean, it's not going to matter because when I go here to paste, it's going to be the same shit. It's fine. Like, all that we did, what did we do? We did three things, right? We did a fade out, and then we did a transparency. That's a pain in the ass. I hate when I do that. That's why sometimes it makes sense to copy and paste and then delete instead of cut paste. But it's fine. Fade out the screen, transparency on, do a little 15 frame wait. I think that was it, right? I don't know. You can go back and look. And then we transfer event. Of course, you can do a controller switch to see if that event happened. So if we wanted to like make sure that this doesn't happen multiple times, you can make a switch requirement here that like this is on. Haven't seen event yet is on. So we can be like haven't seen event yet. And then, yeah, let's do that. See, haven't seen event. This is to stop it from happening multiple times. If haven't seen event is on, then it will play this. And what we need to do is initialize that haven't seen event with our initialization as well. So when we turn our player tracker on, it's another switch. We can say switches. We haven't seen that event yet. So that's on. And it will be on. So then on the transfer event, we also need to check to see if haven't seen event is on as a condition. So we'll say conditional branch here. If the switch haven't seen event is on, then we do these things. Cut them and paste. If not, otherwise we just transfer without the fade out and all that stuff. Oops, this needs to actually go in here. And so this is going to ensure that it's only going to happen once as long as we turn that switch off after the event happens. So inside the stage, after this entire event is played, we need to do one more thing, obviously, and that is control that switch and make it sure that it's off because we've seen the event happen. In order to test this, we're going to need to transfer the player back. So we'll make like a new event. One last little event we'll put in here. This will be a transport crystal. Of course, it's going to be a transport crystal. It's got to be blue, right? Shiny blue. And this is another thing that you can make when you want your event to animate through its animations, through its different things. If you want it to go like boom, 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 then there's a thing for that. It's called stepping. And if you put stepping on, then it will go and cycle through them, and it will look like it's spinning right here because it's animating. We also want to put direction fix on so that if you talk to it from a side, it doesn't change it at all, and it's just going to animate back and forth, back and forth. Finally, one thing I didn't talk about, but it is the through box. If you select this, then the player can walk right through it, and it won't create an obstruction. This is another way you can get around for skip if cannot move things. You can turn them into through events, and then the player will be able to walk through them. And that's a way that you can avoid causing the game to lock up in certain auto-run movement events. But anyway, this will simply just give the player the option to, would you like to teleport out? And then yes or no, show choice. If they say yes, then they teleport, transfer event. If no, nothing happens. So we'll just do a transfer event. Transfer player back to here. Let's just put them here and make them walk down again and see if it'll trigger the event twice because it shouldn't. All right, let's watch our event now. Let's see if everything is going as planned. We have an epic event. We walk here. We've got our initialization stuff's happening. We walk out here. If we were to go back up, nothing, everything should work. We can go anywhere because of our parallel process that's happening. We're using all types of events in here. If we walk down, it should fade out. Do you see how? Okay, wait. I forgot one more thing. I forgot to turn the switch on because when I cut it and I instead of copying, that was another thing that I forgot to put in there. So that was simple. I just forgot to switch. I knew there was one more thing. It was a control switch. So let's go ahead and change that switch right here. Control switch. This would be the friends events. Turn that switch on. Bada boom. Now when you walk down, it'll do that. We'll put it above it. Won't matter too much, but that's fine. All right, let's look again. Cool, we walk down, and we should see our friends there. There they are. You see how it faded out before we got to the map. So we didn't transfer to the map and seeing the character here, and then the character disappears, and then it fades out and fades in right here. It just happened with the transfer event, right? It faded out. All of the scene was set up before the transfer event, and we need to make sure if we go back and come back, go out of the map and come back, that it doesn't do it again. We put in checks and balance to handle that. Hopefully we did it right, and if so, we'll know. Do you be my dance partner, Reed? Sorry, but I already told Gail, and yada yada. Step off, Reed. She's my woman. I'm my dance partner. Michelle's like, I'll be your dance partner. Oh, I guess that'll work. Everybody moves at the same time. Hearts happen. They do their dance. We fade out. Now we're down here. Cool. Let's go ahead and go to this save crystal. Would you like to teleport out? No does nothing. If we say yes, it teleports us up. And then if we go down, it should just teleport us, and that's it. And we already did the dance event, so we don't need that dance event anymore. One more thing you could do is just add a transfer event back here to walk back up. But I think we've gone over events. We've made a cutscene. Basically did what we needed to do there. Gale is secretly in love with Reed. He got jealous that he wasn't asked to dance, so he puts up a tough exterior. He doesn't know how to express himself. It's possible. It's very possible. Yeah. All right, guys. I mean, that's going to do it. Thank you guys so much for coming to the live stream. Happy RPG Festival event. Big shout out to Komodo, Dejika Games. Love you guys very much. You're super awesome. Thank you for having me. Thank you to my lovely wife for all the support that she gives me. Shout out to everybody who's come to the live stream. Shout out to everybody who's glancing on Steam. I'm not sure if we got any dialogue on Steam, but it was live on Steam. And that's basically it. Have a fantastic day, everybody. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 p.m. EST when we go over databasing and some other miscellaneous fun stuff. Bye, guys. Let's pause this music. All right. Thank you guys for coming to the stream. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Goodbye.